Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and my Grand Nexus Park series, where we are continuing on with now episode 7, and more specifically our pirate themed area known as Sunken Bay. In last week's episode, I showed the build of the pirate town. You walk directly through when entering this area of the park. I highlighted the new building method I was trying, the idea behind the uneven and slanted method of stacking the buildings together, that sort of thing. And in this episode, I wanted to highlight a build that sort of anchors the dock area that I briefly showed the start of in last episode. With its architecture, it kind of doubles down on that haphazard style of building that I talked about in last episode. Here are a few clips showing how I went about this. So I'm combining freeform set pieces with the grid pieces. Reason being, it gives me a bit more variety and capability to do some different things with angling pieces of the building, but it also allows me the efficiency you get and sort of the exactness you get with using grid pieces, so kind of best of both worlds there. I definitely recommend giving this a shot if you're looking for a way to create more variety in your buildings. So this building looks sort of like a hot mess at certain points, I won't lie, in certain points of this build, but trust the process. I had to trust the process after a bit. I was like, where am I going with this? But you know, once all the decorations are attached, the windows, doors, roping, lanterns, and all that stuff, and then it's placed within its intended environment in the park, I ended up really being happy with the overall look and feel. So I guess that's another tip I would say to new players, like even if you're not happy with how the build is going, trust the process and see where it gets you, because you know it might look like crap and not really exactly the direction you thought it was going to go, but once you start adding onto it and building onto it and you see the finished product, like that's when you kind of recognize, oh okay, this is worth spending the time on and seeing where it went. But yeah, like I said, I was really happy with the overall look and feel of this building. It really helped fill a big area and again sort of anchored the direct scene around the dock that we'll take a look at coming up in this episode. And honestly, again, the messy look is sort of what I was going for, honestly. Some sort of like controlled chaos in a way, you know. And then adding things like trim pieces around like the bottoms of the main sections of the building, and then all the windows and eventually the decorations with the ropes and the lanterns and like the crow's nests. It sort of brings the chaos into focus a bit more, if that makes any sense. At least that's what I was hoping for. And then here I started to see that once I had like the main footprint of the building, the chaos was not totally controlled yet. I keep going back to this theme of control chaos. I guess that's going to be the theme of this episode. But yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier, the chaos was not fully controlled. I think the fact that the roof pieces at this point of the build, the fact that they were straight and on that grid, it made it look less like I was wanting. I needed it to do what I'm showing here, so segmenting out the roof pieces and then angling each slightly so it gives that impression that it's a building that's seen some shit, so to speak. And then outside of just the goal of anchoring the scene I'm creating, you know, around the dock and the lagoon and the big shipwreck in the center, I'm also looking to start transitioning or just theming up an area where I'd like to build a queue to a track ride, which ends up being a river rapids ride I'm building around the shipwreck. Eventually, the queue for that ride will sort of make its way through and around the structure, so putting to use the docks that I'm adding here and trying to immerse the guests into this pirate area more and more as they keep exploring this section of the park. And then here's where the chaos is really starting to come into focus, I think. Just adding, again, the things like I was mentioning earlier, the windows, the ropes hanging off helps it to come off as what I intended it to be. At least I think it does, a worn down pirate shanty building structure thing. And then, yeah, once we place it down in its intended position, like I was saying, I think you'll see here that it definitely does belong where it's at. Definitely out of order here, but I wanted to show that shanty building first before I started the layout of the River Rapids ride, which is what you're seeing here. I'm just kind of framing in this pirate area with the terrain so that I have some sort of a border to work with, so I have a frame of reference of where to start and end the ride. And as I speak right now, my cat is puking in the background. I hope that it's not getting picked up, but yeah. Anyways, so what I wanted to do here, my goal was to kind of, as the River Rapids ride leaves the station, I wanted it to continue on through like the edge of the pirate community here. So that's why I'm kind of placing these more rundown buildings on the edge, and then you'll see here in a minute that I add some jungle features to the hill and add some of the ruins that are, you know, harping back to the entrance of this area, of this park. That's kind of the vibe I was going for there, because I'm trying to give it the feel that you're leaving this community where, you know, this group of pirates have settled, and then you're wandering off into the wilderness where mystery is afoot, and you're not really sure what to expect. This sort of, I guess, creates some sort of suspense in the ride. So that's what I'm doing here with the ruins. I've come to realize that I spend 95% of my time in this game doing like theming, kind of immersive scene building rather than rides, so that when I get to the part where I'm building out the layout of a track, I really struggle to kind of like visualize what I'm trying to do. In terms of like the ideas that I have them in my head, but I'm not good at like planning that out along a theoretical track, if that makes sense. So I have a lot of kind of screw ups here and there, and kind of like different iterations of the track layout. I had the same issue with the Flight of the Nexus coaster that I had built in one of the first couple episodes of this series. It's just something I'm working on. Like I said, I spend a lot more time building structures and theming and immersion type scenes, that sort of thing, rather than rides. So it's something I'm definitely trying to improve upon. All that to say is I go about this in a couple different ways, but I land on a specific track layout, obviously, at the end. So not sure how much I'll show of sort of the mess ups and deleting and stuff, but yeah, that's just kind of behind the scenes what I deal with when I'm playing this game. And it kind of probably comes out in the fact that the rides that I build so far I think are cool theme wise, but realistic and realism factors are not always up to snuff. But again, I play this game more for the immersion and the scene building and that sort of thing, more so than the realistic ride portion of the game. Another thing I struggled with this specific ride build was, I think in real life a River Rapids ride like this would be cool to experience, but when you're doing like a POV of the ride at the end, it just goes so slow. So like I struggle to keep up with the build of this ride and keep the momentum going, more so than like a coaster build or even just the pirate town or the pirate shipwreck. And again, that might be the lack of experience I have with building rides, and maybe that will come once the building portion of it comes easier and more natural to me. Maybe I'll have a little bit more of a sense of, you know, what direction to go in the builds, and it'll make it a little bit more enjoyable for me, and I'll be able to keep that momentum. But as I speak now, that's just not the case. Not to say that I don't have fun building the ride, I definitely do, but I think I kind of, when I start the build, I'm a little bit more ambitious than I should be in terms of like where my skill is at with building out a track layout, and that makes sense. And yeah, I think a little bigger than what I should when I start these out. I don't know, hopefully you guys will like the end results. I think I definitely have some really cool elements in this ride. Again, I don't know if I bit off a little bit more than I can chew in terms of the length of the ride, and then the details I wanted to incorporate in terms of the theming and whatnot and the immersion. But yeah, anyways, this is kind of getting towards the end of the build here. I'll leave you with the last bits of the layout and the queue and everything. I'm gonna leave the theming of the actual ride till next episode, because I didn't want to make this episode super long. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, let me know what you think about the build, about the tips I brought up, what tips you have for me that maybe I'm not thinking about when specifically I'm building a ride out, a track ride and that sort of thing. And yeah, stick around for more. I'm having a lot of fun with this series, obviously, and I plan to continue on going with this. And then I'm thinking about actually doing another project too on the side, where I do just like specific scenes, maybe going back to the Zelda thing that I started when I first started playing this game. But anyways, yeah, stay tuned for that if you guys are interested, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching.